After saying that, I stared at him in shock, hand still pressed to my swollen lips as I protested. How many damn wishes do you have left? Why are you back here again already? My lips were numb from being kissed so much. Sebastian reluctantly pulled away, but not before biting my lip one last time. I covered my face in embarrassment, furious yet unsure where to direct it. After all, Sebastian was completely within the rules. There was no way I could kick him out. He was the only player in years who'd ever cleared the fire dungeon. And once you clear the dungeon, the Dark God grants one wish. But instead of just asking for something simple, Sebastian went full greedy, trying to milk the Dark God dry. Sebastian shrugged. When the Dark God shows up and fulfills my wish, maybe I'll finally be satisfied. He gave me a little wave, then stepped back through the dungeon door. According to the routine, in 5 hours, Sebastian will come out of the instance again. Sebastian's routine was strict. 5 hours to clear the dungeon, 1 hour to kiss me, repeat 3 times, then crash for another few hours. And why only an hour? Not because that's Sebastian's limit, but because mine is. Staring at the sealed dungeon door, I stomped my foot hard. Knowing he wouldn't be out anytime soon, I decided to go find the Dark God instead. The Dark God was the creator of all dungeons, me included. Even I was his creation. Back then he swore up and down that since the dungeon was so damn hard, no one would ever make it through. I agreed only because of that. And now, he's been holed up for a month, and my lips are already swollen from all the kissing. Liar. The Dark God had been in seclusion for over a month. Perfect timing, I'd say. He finally shows up. I stand outside his mansion, kick the door open with one swift boot, and march in like I own the place. The Dark God already knows what's happened this past month. He can't hold back a grin when he sees me. What on earth happened to your lips? They're swollen. I glare at him. You've got nerve saying that. Didn't you promise no one could clear the dungeon? The Dark God stays calm. Hold on, before you freak out. You know how many wishes Sebastian's made during my time in seclusion? Sebastian's racked up 98 wishes already. Plus today's one, that's 99. I blink curious. What did he even wish for? The Dark God smirks cryptically. A glow flickers across the sky. Golden wish pools light up like fireworks, each one brimming with Sebastian's desires. Wish to marry NPC Daniel. Just want Daniel. The pools are stuffed with crude, filthy fantasies. I stare, stunned. That's why so many people keep flooding into the dungeon. Any wish can be granted. And Sebastian's clearly just after one thing, me. Panic hits. I lunge forward and grab the Dark God by the leg. Help! I don't want to go with him. The Dark God pats my head gently. Calm down, he says, voice soft. I'm bawling. Raise the dungeon's difficulty. Keep him locked in forever. I'm just an NPC. I only ever wanted to loaf around in this place, scare people now and then. Why should I have to deal with this? The Dark God sighs, shaking his head. Won't work. He'll come out eventually. You're still stuck marrying him. After all the time we've spent together, I know when he's holding back. I look at him, confused. So, what do I do? He strokes my hair, quiet for a long moment. Then, I'll boost the dungeon's difficulty. This time, it'll take him at least a month to break through. And when he does, you go back in there and kill him. My eyes shot wide open, hesitation flickering through me. After all, I was just an NPC, never been out of my assigned role before. Besides, I didn't think Sebastian deserved to die. I wasn't ready to let that happen. Hearing my hesitation, the devil sighed and shook his head. Fine, he said, then I'll start packing your wedding trousseau. I immediately refused. Well, I'd better go into the dungeon then. To keep me hidden from Sebastian, the devil swapped my face. Gave me a whole new look. Right after that, I was teleported into the instance. One blink, and there it was. A massive frog head looming over me, drooling like a swamp monster. I shuddered. 3 quick stomps later, that frog face was nothing but a squashed pancake. And I bolted toward where Sebastian had gone. When I found Sebastian, he was fighting a huge monster. I hid in the corner, planning to rush over and kill him when he ran out of steam. But time dragged on. And on. until I dozed off completely. Woke up with my arms bound tight, Sebastian sitting across the fire pit, face cold as stone. A juicy chicken sizzled over the flames, grease dripping down its skin. I swallowed hard. Sebastian then asked in a cold voice, "Were you following me?" I entered the dungeon in disguise, so Sebastian didn't recognize me. I nodded like a chicken pecking at rice and started lying. "Boss, you're amazing. I saw you clear the dungeon and I want to tag along. Can you take me with you? I need to get closer to Sebastian first, so I can find a chance to kill him. Even if he refused, at least he'd let me go. Then I could still finish the job later." But Sebastian just shook his head. "No way. If I help you through, what about the NPC guards? Gonna have to kiss them too." Sebastian gave me an evil grin and said, "The little NPC is mine." "You? No way." After saying this, Sebastian devoured the fragrant roasted chicken right in front of me in a few bites and then left. He actually left? Like that? I was stunned. Laying there like a bug caught in glue, struggling but getting nowhere with the ropes. By the time I finally wriggled free from those damn ropes, a full day had passed. Starving and weak, I'd rolled around on the ground like a dirty rag, my hatred for Sebastian boiling over. Before, I just disliked him. Now, I was genuinely ready to kill him. My eyes were bloodshot, and I blindly chased after Sebastian. Lucky me, I ran into Sebastian right after he'd finished the dungeon, still shaky and drained. Then I used the same method Sebastian had used to tie me up and bound him as well. Time to settle things. I wetted the blade, its rasp sharp enough to make my teeth ache. Then Sebastian stirred awake. He blinked at me, confused for a second, then smirked. "Not bad, you're faster than I thought." Seeing that I didn't respond to him, Sebastian started talking to himself. "Hey, little beauty. What's your name? Oh right, you're way cuter than that NPC. I'd totally ditch him for you. Come on, give me a kiss. I'll help you clear the quest in no time." Clang! I smashed the blade to pieces. "Asshole, two-timing bastard. Why not just chop that little toy up and be done with it?" I lifted the broken hilt, stepped toward Sebastian. Just as my knife was only a few millimeters away from Sebastian, I stopped my hand. Sebastian reached out and pinched the blade of my knife. He didn't seem to care at all about the blade slicing his fingers. Just gripped it like it was nothing. A savage light flickered in his eyes, and I jerked back instinctively, my hand trembling. Yeah, even if he hadn't blocked the blade, I never would have had the guts to kill him. I just couldn't bring myself to do it. The knife clattered to the floor with a metallic clang. Then, despite being utterly spent, Sebastian pulled himself up and lunged at me, toppling me hard onto my back. His lips crashed against mine, thick with the coppery taste of blood. I don't know how much time had passed before Sebastian finally let go of me. He grinned at me, that smug little smirk, then pinched my cheek and said with a lazy chuckle, "You're not an NPC, are you? How'd you even get in here?" I shoved him hard. So he knew who I was all along. He'd been playing me this whole time. Even before that, he'd tied me up and devoured a roasted chicken right in front of me. No sharing, not even a scrap. I gave Sebastian a fierce glare. He smiled at me innocently. I grabbed his throat. "When did you figure it out?" Sebastian tilted his head and lied right off the bat. "I recognized you the first time I saw you. Liar." I stared at him, then kicked him square in the ribs. He'd only known me a month. 3 hours of FaceTime tops. And I'd changed my face entirely. How could he possibly recognize me? Just some man's smooth talk. Sure, I'm an NPC. But this is my first damn run through the dungeon. I've got no idea how to beat it. I looked at Sebastian and asked, "You know how to beat this thing, right?" Sebastian shook his head. "Something's off here. Feels like the difficulty just went up." The comment made me uneasy. Perfect. Not knowing how to clear it means he'll stick around longer, giving me more time to take him out. And now I've got to stay close to Sebastian. Makes the job easier. I casually glanced over at Sebastian. Coincidentally, he looked up at the same time. He didn't ask me why I was in the dungeon, but simply invited me. "This dungeon is quite tough. Want to team up with me?" I lifted my chin slightly. "Since you put it that way, I guess I'll have to join you." Sebastian seemed to smirk a little. He nodded and started setting up the fire to roast a rabbit. No idea where he even found a rabbit, but it was already smoking with flavor. I swallowed hard, trying to act nonchalant, when Sebastian held the roasted rabbit right in front of me and asked, "Wanna have some?" After eating, warmth spread through my body. I lagged behind Sebastian like a sleepy shadow. Night was falling fast, but Sebastian showed no sign of stopping. I kicked at loose stones, drowsiness creeping in. Couldn't help yawning. Sebastian was walking ahead of me, yet it seemed as if he had eyes in the back of his head. He stopped and said, "If you're sleepy, you can go ahead and sleep." Honestly, I was beat. Sebastian moved with quiet skill. He built a small shelter against the wind and rain, then handed me a tiny blanket. Don't know why I was so out of it, but I pulled the blanket over myself and fell asleep in seconds. I woke up to the steady drip of water. When I opened my eyes, I saw a scarecrow right in front of me. The scarecrow's voice was rustling. I listened with difficulty, and it roughly meant that Sebastian and I had entered a scenario called The True and False Brides. I'm the groom, and Sebastian's the bride. Me, I looked down. My body was wrapped in a blazing red wedding robe. Unreal. The scarecrow motioned for me to mount the horse, my chest pinned with a crimson blossom, drums pounding, music blaring, dragged into some grand estate like I was part of a damn parade. Not long after, two identical brides appeared in front of me. One stood way taller than me, giant frame, just loomed over the scene like twin pillars. I sighed, watching both brides climb into the palanquin, the NPC bearers groaning under the weight, nearly collapsing. I bit back a laugh, then followed them to another mansion. Before we even stepped inside, an NPC rushed up in panic. "Sir, we've got two brides." Seconds later, the quest popped up. Find the real bride, or the genuine one gets erased. Guess the dark god still left me a sliver of mercy. Get it wrong, and Sebastian's gone for good. He's always played solo through these levels. He's never had to live with someone else holding his fate in their hands before. Under the watchful eyes of every NPC, I slowly lifted the veils from both brides. Gotta admit, they looked identical down to the curve of their smiles. Taking the lead, the bride said, "My love, I am your Sebastian." Me, fake one opens her mouth, immediately obvious. Just as I was about to say something, the fake gave me a quick wink. Look, even though he's wearing Sebastian's face, his expression betrayed him completely. The demon's always been fond of flirty glances with me. This look? I know it too well to miss. Wait, seriously? You've got nothing better to do than hop into the dungeon yourself? When he realized I'd seen through him, his eyes darted faster, wild with urgency, clearly telling me to play dumb. Pretend I didn't recognize Sebastian. That way, the rules could erase him clean. Got it. I turned my gaze straight to Sebastian. Sebastian dropped his usual laid-back demeanor. His expression was uncharacteristically serious. He stared at me intently, not blinking, and quietly called out, "Daniel." I didn't hesitate. I know who the fake bride is. The demon looked relieved. Sebastian lit up with hope. The NPCs? All eyes glued to us, like we were starring in their favorite drama. Under everyone's watchful eyes, I took a slow breath and said, "The fake bride is." Then I reached out, pointed straight at the demon. Him, the demon, if looks could kill, he'd have carved me into confetti by now. He clenched his jaw, barely holding back, but finally snapped, "Daniel, you traitorous little." His rant cut off mid-sentence as the dungeon rules yanked him away. 1 second he was there, the next he vanished. Sebastian raised an eyebrow slightly, then resumed his usual nonchalant look and said confidently, "Didn't expect Daniel to know me so well. I only said one sentence and you recognized me right away." Not because he's easy to spot, no way. It's the demon who's impossible to miss. He said he ratcheted up the difficulty, yet this was still a breeze. No wonder Sebastian can clear 3 runs a day. Feels like playing tag. I kept muttering under my breath while trying to figure out what came next. Since I'd identified the fake bride, the wedding ceremony would continue as planned. The NPCs cheered, practically dragging me and Sebastian off for the vows, then straight into the bridal chamber. I had to play by the rules and entertain the guests. Once that was done, I headed back to the room only to find the bride on the bed had turned into a little monkey. Me, then another NPC chimed in. "All guests must find the real bride. The night's getting deeper. If we don't find her, things could get really bad. All players? Wait. Besides me and Sebastian, are there others here?" Just then, I turned around to see a crowd closing in behind me. These people had been mingling among the guests earlier, I'd assumed they were NPCs, but turns out they're players too. Obviously, they thought I was just another NPC and started rummaging through my room right in front of me. Where's the bride? No bride on the wedding night? That can't be right. This groom looks clueless. His bride vanishes and he doesn't even bother looking. What, me? I stared coldly at the group tearing up my room, then muttered flatly, I'm a player too. Everyone froze for half a second. I saw the guy who'd called me dumb scratch his head and quietly step back. But then, one girl broke the silence. She introduced herself. I'm Charlotte. I've beaten this level 18 times. Once she started, the others followed suit with their own names. After they'd all spoken, everyone turned to look at me. I hesitated a beat, then said, Daniel, first time in this dungeon. Charlotte looked up, surprised, then softened, giving me a half-awkward glance. Well then, just stick with us for now. We've got some experience under our belts. The moment she finished speaking, someone sneered coldly, dragging along some clueless newbie? That's just a liability. The guy shot me a sideways glance with ill intent. When things get dangerous, you'd better volunteer to die. Might as well be worth something then. Brutal, plain and simple. Charlotte forced a tight smile. Ignore him. I didn't even bother responding. Just followed their plan, moving through the yard in search of the bride. No, wait. Sebastian. We scoured every corner. No sign of Sebastian anywhere. Time dragged on. Dawn crept over the horizon. Just as the sky lightened, an NPC stepped into the courtyard and shrugged apologetically. Guard duty failed last night. Lost the bride. The master's furious. Had them beaten to death. He'd barely finished when two people in the crowd screamed, collapsing like sacks of flour. Their wounds were ghastly. I glanced once and looked away fast. The air instantly turned colder. The mood shattered completely. The NPC continued. The bride returned first thing this morning. I snapped back to attention, scanning the group, and right then, saw Sebastian walking in through the door. Sebastian was dressed in a tattered wedding outfit. No one knew where he had been that night, and he looked extremely disheveled. The second he spotted me, his eyes lit up. He took quick strides to my side and whispered low, Daniel, baby, I'm so scared. Last night they locked me in, beat me up. Those guys were terrifying. As he spoke, he leaned into me like a fragile thing, pretending helplessness down to the last twitch. His hands weren't staying still either. Honestly, he didn't look remotely scared. He was all over me like a performance. I slapped his hand away. Then he went right back at it, relentless. We were both in wedding outfits. We looked every bit the newlyweds. After letting him paw at me for a bit, I'd had enough. I clocked him in the jaw. Sebastian instantly went all watery-eyed. Daniel, baby, how could you hit me? I gave him a cold stare and shoved his hand off my waist. My fingers locked in place like a mute switch. The other players also stared at Daniel and Sebastian in shock, their faces full of mixed emotions. NPC's voice stayed flat. The bride returns late, her clothes torn. Her groom suspects she cheated last night and locks her in the side courtyard. The moment those words left his lips, Sebastian started whimpering under his breath. Daniel, darling, how could you be so cold? I've already been taken. Yet all you care about is my virtue. The NPC's words were interrupted, and he looked at Sebastian with a hostile gaze. I snapped at him. Shut up. Sebastian straightened up instantly. Yes, boss. The NPC resumed. The maid Lingji, assigned to guard duty, drowned in the lotus pond that night. That was a major clue. Pretty much shouting at every player that someone would die tonight. After saying that, the NPC turned and walked off, leaving us all staring at each other in silence. Maybe it was the weight of death hanging over us. Everyone's mood took a nosedive. Charlotte finally spoke. Given what we've seen so far, everyone has their assigned role. If the NPC names who dies tonight, maybe we can avoid it. She said it light, like a joke, but no one believed her. After all, the last two died instantly, no chance to run. Still, everyone played along, pretending not to notice. Based on where we first appeared and what we're wearing, it's easy enough to guess who plays what role. For instance, Charlotte, her outfit's better than the rest. Probably the housekeeper. Then someone snapped, "What the hell am I wearing a maid's uniform for?" That was Jack, the guy who'd complained earlier about me slowing him down, according to Charlotte, and he's 12. Several others in servant garb stood beside him, all pale with fear. Jack's face cycled through shades of green and white as he froze in place, then stormed off without a word. A while later, he reappeared. Somehow managed to find a set of menial worker clothes and threw them on like armor, as if that could erase the shame of being dressed as a maid. Later that afternoon, we wandered through the courtyard hunting for clues. Passing by the ancestral hall, we stepped inside for a quick look. First thing we saw, 10 neatly arranged coffins stacked in perfect rows. Sebastian must have sensed something off. He walked over and started lifting each coffin lid one by one. At the very end, 2 of them held the bodies of the players who died that morning. 10 coffins, and 11 of us had entered this dungeon, including me. Was it possible only one person would walk out alive? But Sebastian seemed totally oblivious, turning back to me with a wide grin. Even if we're in the same coffin, I'm still sleeping next to Daniel. That comment completely threw off my train of thought. I gave Sebastian a cold glance and said, "I'm not sharing a coffin with you." After that, Sebastian started analyzing with me how the 2 of us should lie in the coffin. Daniel can lie on me, sit on my lap. I can hold him just by raising my hand. Just thinking about it makes me happy. I felt a major facepalm coming. Turned away and snapped. I already said no, not happening. Why? There are only 10 coffins here. If Daniel doesn't sleep with me, who else would he sleep with? I was done. Pulled my hands over my ears and walked off in frustration. That night, the players gathered to swap what they'd found. The servants stayed quiet, barely paying attention, just standing around like shadows. Soon enough, Jack couldn't take it anymore. He started screaming, demanding we exit the dungeon, and bolted toward the courtyard gate. But then he suddenly hit some invisible barrier and bounced back hard. Moments later, an NPC stepped into the courtyard and announced, "It's past 9 o'clock. Everyone must return to their assigned rooms. Important. No one is allowed to wander between houses. Heads up. Anyone still out after the hour will be erased." The time limit was tight. Everyone reluctantly shuffled back. Jack, leading the way, stumbled like he'd lost his footing, then froze mid-step, as if remembering something. He darted into a side courtyard. He burst into what should have been Sebastian's room. Sebastian didn't flinch. He calmly followed behind. Honestly, I was already fed up with Jack by this point. I scowled at Sebastian and asked, "Want me to toss him out for you?" Sebastian's lips curled in surprise, like he'd just been handed a gift. "Oh, Daniel, sweetie, you're so protective of me." I'm touched. I turned my head away and bit my lip. "Don't be ridiculous." Before I could say more, Sebastian leaned in, light as a butterfly, and brushed his lips against mine. Quick kiss. Gone in an instant. Just as I was about to speak, Sebastian bent down and gave me a peck on the lips. He used to go at it like a man possessed. Nothing gentle or sweet about him before. Now this? Barely a whisper. Too innocent. Almost mocking. I stood there stunned, still reeling. Before I could even yell at him, Sebastian already stepped back with that smug little grin. "Even if Daniel wants to help me, this kind of thing doesn't need your trouble, me? I can handle Jack myself." I could only watch helplessly as Sebastian walked into the side courtyard. Before long, a scream from Jack came from inside. Looks like Sebastian dealt with him, finally. I exhaled and made my way back to my own yard. Knowing I was safe for now, I let myself drift off for a nap. Just meant to rest lightly. But the next thing I knew, sunlight streamed through the trees. It was morning. Last night, nothing had actually happened. So who died? I stepped into the courtyard and saw Sebastian emerging from a maid's room, flanked by 2 other players dressed as maids. So, the person who died last night, it wasn't just me thinking it. Everyone moved in perfect unison toward the lotus pond. As we got closer, I could see a body floating on top of the water. Definitely Jack. But he was completely bound in ropes, tossed in there like garbage. And yet, no one heard him scream last night. The silence hung heavy. No struggle, no warning. Someone wanted you dead, and that was it. Now I finally get why Sebastian's the only one who's made it through this dungeon after so long. It's brutal. Why on earth does Sebastian risk his life to clear the instances every time? What dream can't he let go of? Perhaps sensing my gaze, Sebastian glanced at me, smiled reassuringly, and mouthed, Don't be afraid. I stared frozen at the body in the pond. Then suddenly, a warm hand covered my eyes. Sebastian's voice cut through my panic like water over fire. Soft, steady, so gentle. Daniel, you're safe. I'm here. I wanted to argue. I don't need you to be here for me not to be scared. But the next moment, I felt a cool breath approaching me, and Sebastian hugged me from behind, light but solid. His embrace was warm, his voice low and quiet. I know you've seen worse, Daniel, but seeing it doesn't mean you're not afraid. If you are scared, he murmured, lean back into me. I'm here. The words hit like a spell. I didn't think, just leaned in. This kind of weakness. I thought Sebastian would mock me, but he didn't. Sebastian held me gently, patting me softly and tenderly while humming a song I'd never heard before. For the first time in ages, I wanted to stay right there. Not move, not speak, let nothing break this moment. I didn't get to stay, not after the NPC reappeared at the door. His voice was flat, just like always. Last night, the groom went to the side courtyard and argued with the bride. Then, in a fit of rage, he shoved her into the lotus pond. She drowned. The moment that sank in, every single person turned their gaze toward Sebastian and me. Sebastian still held me close. I tried to pull away, but I couldn't. He just kept holding on, letting everyone stare. I'm the groom, and Sebastian's the bride, but the one who died was Jack. And Sebastian this morning? He'd come straight from a servant's room. So, could it be that when Jack ran into Sebastian's chamber, he got mistaken for the bride and took her place in death? One player already had his eyes locked on Sebastian, probably wondering if he'd done something to Jack last night. Otherwise, why would it be the bride who died instead of a servant? And how did Sebastian even escape? It wasn't just Sebastian. Glances kept drifting toward me, too. What was that NPC saying again? The groom killed the bride, and here I am, practically glued to Sebastian. Jack had annoyed both of us yesterday. Could it be we didn't just break some rule, we actually killed him? I tried to clear my name. I never left my room last night. Some believed me, others didn't. Then Charlotte spoke up first. Let's just wait and see what the NPC says next. Her words snapped everyone back to attention. The NPC didn't miss a beat. Tonight's looking rough, too. Two maids got into it and shoved each other into the well. Again, maids. There were 3 maids left on the field. One of them was Sebastian. The other 2 had been trembling with fear just yesterday, and now they had to endure more mental torture today. And this time, both of them go down. The 2 in servant dresses locked eyes. Both drained, hearts pounding. The players who hadn't been called still weren't safe. After all, the NPC had said it was supposed to be the maids who'd die. Yet the bride was the one who ended up dead. So no one was truly out of danger. I couldn't help but think. Sebastian had survived so many rounds already. He had to be good. What kind of move did he have up his sleeve? Just then, a scream cut through my thoughts. Every player snapped to attention, instantly turning toward the sound and rushing over. One of them was huddled outside the ancestral hall, legs shaking, pointing weakly inside like a drowning man pleading for help. In there. There's something. He never finished. Someone impatient had already stepped inside. Then they all froze. 3 coffins stood in the room, each holding a corpse, including Jack, who'd just died moments before. Who put these bodies here? Someone asked. No one answered. The answer was clear enough. 10 coffins in total, 3 of them already filled with the players who died. The rest were just waiting for their next occupants. It didn't take a genius to figure out whose turn came next. A voice trembled. 10 coffins. Does that mean only one person's gonna make it out? Silence fell over the group. The situation in this dungeon was now unmistakable. The target for elimination could be swapped at any time, which meant only one of us would survive. And everyone knew what that meant. Everyone was gonna fight like hell for that single spot. Right now, they might be holding back, watching and waiting, but as the number of survivors dwindled, darker thoughts would start creeping in. The players filed out one by one. Only me and Sebastian remained outside the ancestral hall. Sebastian was lost in thought, and I couldn't take my eyes off his profile. In the past month, I didn't exactly hate him, just found him damn weird, so I'd rather ignore him. When I heard the demon god's words and nearly killed him, I hadn't really meant it at all. Sebastian's profile was really good looking. I didn't know why, but I had this strange sense of familiarity with his face, a feeling I'd never had before. A dull ache pulsed low in my chest. I wanted to shake off the strange feeling fast, so I asked Sebastian, why you kept coming back into this dungeon? What's really driving you? Sebastian turned around and the corners of his lips curved up. You should know. I've said it already. I want you, always playing games. I knew it was bullshit. After all, he only gets one wish from the demon god. Once granted, that's it. No need to keep risking his life over and over again. I got pissed off and didn't feel like talking anymore. But then Sebastian spoke up first. The demon god might not have told you, he said, but after clearing this dungeon 100 times, you earn a reward. One you won't be able to refuse. I hadn't heard that before. All I knew was that finishing the dungeon once gave you one wish. Curious now, I asked, what kind of reward? Sebastian didn't answer me directly. Instead, he just smiled and said, if I tell you the reward, will you grant me a favor? I froze. What kind of thing? Sebastian leaned in close, his breath brushing my ear as he whispered 3 words. My face burned instantly. Without thinking, I kicked him hard in the shin. Pervert. I hadn't expected it. This fight was coming faster than I'd imagined. That afternoon, we were searching the courtyard for clues when suddenly a rush of wind hit my back. Sebastian grabbed me around the waist and pulled me aside in one swift motion. Someone had lunged at me from behind with a knife. I'm an NPC technically, I can't die, but Sebastian seemed to have forgotten that. He shoved me behind him and went straight into combat with the guy holding the knife. The player was dressed in a maid's outfit. About 2/3 of the time, he probably didn't want to risk it, so he struck first. Sebastian's been through this scenario 99 times before. He wasn't about to lose. Within seconds, he had the guy pinned on the ground. His name was Michael. When we first met, he seemed friendly enough, but maybe the stress of these past few days finally broke him. Pushed him over the edge into something like this. Sebastian wasn't one for mercy, but he was holding back, just for me. So he kept the knife raised but didn't strike right away. I was frozen in place, stunned into silence. Just as Sebastian looked like he'd let him go, I blurted out, Sebastian, don't worry about me. I heard Sebastian let out a soft sigh and say, Daniel, close your eyes. His voice was low, firm, like he'd just made up his mind, and I did. I think I heard the sound of steel sinking in, then footsteps as Sebastian stood up. He walked slowly behind me, pulled me into a tight embrace. His clothes still reeked of blood, but I wasn't afraid, not even a little. Sebastian asked me, Daniel, during all these years as an NPC, have you ever gotten hurt? I lied. No. Sebastian twitched his lips. Daniel must have suffered a lot. A lot of players don't know their own strength. Did they bully you? Yeah. I'm just an NPC. Sometimes players treat me like some lifeless thing that doesn't feel pain. I've died too many times in this dungeon to count. I still get scared every time. I thought I'd gotten used to it by now, but Sebastian told me, it won't happen again. He brushed a strand of my hair back, saying, Daniel, you don't have to suffer players anymore. I just stared at him, knowing full well he might be lying, but I still nodded. Sebastian looked down at me, heavy-eyed. His hand slid from my hair to my cheek. Stick with me for the next 2 days. No moving on your own. It's too dangerous. I could only gulp and mutter a weak, okay. In the corner, a flash of skirt. Sebastian narrowed his eyes. Someone else will die this afternoon. I was confused, but Sebastian didn't explain further, so I didn't ask. Sure enough, another body turned up in the afternoon. That made 2 total, Michael included. Everyone knew what was going on without saying a word. No one talked much, and by nightfall, we all went back to our rooms without being told. Nobody expected it. 2 more players died that same night. 1 servant, 1 cook. The next morning, we gathered in the yard. Of the original 11, only 4 remained after just 3 days. Me, Sebastian, Charlotte, and the last player still dressed as a maid. I remembered his name. Alexander. Early that morning, another NPC stood in the courtyard, calm and steady. Last night, a maid poisoned the water. 4 people died. Lucky for us, neither the groom nor the steward was harmed. Now there are only 3 of us left in this whole mansion. But wait. There were clearly 4 of us standing here. Before anyone could ask, the NPC's tone shifted. That maid was truly vicious. The household reported her to the authorities. She's locked in prison and will be executed soon. The moment he finished speaking, the player in the maid's outfit flew backward. His head severed clean off. Blood sprayed everywhere, landing on my clothes. The NPC's face was splattered too, but he didn't seem to notice. Just kept speaking calmly. Tonight, the manners unusually quiet. It sounded like he meant no one would die tonight, though I couldn't tell if that was true. Still, I let out a breath I hadn't realized I'd been holding. That night, Sebastian moved into the room right next to mine. That afternoon, he suddenly showed up at my room and just pulled me into a tight hug. I heard Sebastian murmuring my name over and over, his voice thick with something I couldn't quite place. I asked him again, "Why do you have to beat it no matter what?" Sebastian mumbled, "I like Daniel." Not a single word he said was true. Back when I was just an NPC, he'd pinned me down the first time we met. Clearly all over me then. Now he's claiming to like me? I struggled to break free from Sebastian's embrace and said, "There isn't a single word of truth coming out of your mouth." Sebastian caught my hand and pressed it right over his heart. "Every word I say, I mean." Sebastian stayed in my room until the very last moment, then reluctantly went back to his own room. I sat there alone, mind spinning. At this point, I didn't even want to kill Sebastian anymore. I just needed to know what he was really after by running through this game 100 times. There had to be something else going on. Midnight came. I just settled into bed when I heard a soft creak. Sebastian opening his door. What was he doing up at this hour? I crept to the door, pressing my ear against the wall. A voice floated through. The only other people left in the house were Charlotte and him. The voice had to be hers. All I could make out was a muffled murmur, faint, indistinct, and utterly unnerving. Why the hell would Charlotte be meeting Sebastian? What were they even talking about? The noise from next door didn't last long. Just a quick creak of wood, then silence as someone walked away. Next morning, I woke up in my room and went out to the yard. Only Sebastian was there, standing alone under the cold sky. Charlotte was dead. No warning. No reason. Just gone. She'd been fine last night. Just saw Sebastian for a minute, and then she was gone. I couldn't help but start doubting Sebastian. Back then, I'd already thought he hadn't survived all those loops by luck alone. He had to have some edge. Jack's dead. Charlotte's gone. So who's next? Me? Sebastian said he liked me. So would he kill me too? In the morning, the NPC showed up in the yard. He didn't announce we'd passed. Just kept talking. Last night, the house's butler took poison and died. Suicide? Could it really be Sebastian? I stared at Sebastian in shock. He seemed to know what I was thinking. Unlike before, he didn't look at me with undisguised eyes. This time, his eyes were as calm as water, as if he was very sad. The NPC went on. Tonight, the groom quarreled with a maid and threw her into the well. She drowned. I'm the groom. So tonight it's me who has to kill Sebastian? If everyone else dies, is there really no one left alive except me? But this was Sebastian's final loop. Can he still make his wish come true now? In this world, I can still reach out to the Dark God. I asked the Dark God, why hasn't anyone ever cleared this dungeon? The Dark God gave a slow, knowing smile. Aren't you the one who just did? He was playing word games. I frowned. I'm not going to kill Sebastian. Let me out. Too late. The Dark God said, shrugging. You're already inside the dungeon. Rules are rules now. Daniel, I've been waiting for you to come back. There was no way out. I didn't want Sebastian dead. If I remember right, in all those other dungeons, I've been killed by passing players, more times than I can count. But I never actually died. I'm an NPC. I don't die. Maybe I could take Sebastian's place instead. That thought ran through my mind as I stepped toward the door. Just as it swung open before I even reached it, outside stood Sebastian. I barely had time to react when he grabbed me around the waist, pulling me into his arms before I could speak. Sebastian held me with an uncharacteristically forceful grip. Then he kissed me hard. Never once after a dungeon run had he kissed me like this. Rushed, desperate, hungry. This time was even rougher than before. For a second there, I swear he was going to devour me, but he didn't. Long time passed. Sebastian finally softened, his kiss gentle, like he was holding something precious. When we finally pulled apart, Sebastian murmured, Daniel, once you get back, make sure the Dark God assigns you something low-key. No more guarding the gate, and definitely don't let players kiss you willy-nilly. Something inside me felt like it was slipping away fast. I gripped Sebastian's hand. What are you doing? I asked. Sebastian didn't say anything. He pressed his forehead against mine and said in a low voice, Samuel, I like you. Samuel? Who the hell is Samuel? I'm Daniel, not some other guy. I wanted to argue, but my head was spinning, my eyelids heavy as lead. My fingers clamped down on Sebastian's hand until blood welled up in angry red streaks. Still, I fell asleep. I wanted to tell Sebastian that I was an NPC and that I could die anytime. Too late now. He didn't give me a chance, and I still wanted to ask. Wasn't it agreed we wouldn't let players hurt you again? If he's dead, then those promises mean nothing, right? When I woke up, the devil stood beside me, a faint smirk on his face. Congratulations, Daniel. You've completed your mission. I shot upright and grabbed him by the throat. Why'd you have to kill Sebastian? He didn't do anything wrong. And who's Samuel? Who am I? The devil turned red, gasping for air as he finally managed to pry my fingers loose. Oh, Daniel's mad now. I was about to clamp down again when he quickly held up his hands. Sebastian asked me, before he died, that I wipe your memories of him. My body recoiled, stepped back, instantly on guard. The devil just laughed. Relax. I'm not gonna hurt you, right? Like hell I believe that. Just thinking about how insane he was. Killing Sebastian like that. It made me furious. I glared at the devil, who smirked back. Daniel, you two kissed for a whole month. You really don't love him now. Did I really fall for him? Probably not, but why does my chest feel like it's splitting open? The dark god leaned in, gently wiping the tears from my face. Now, Daniel, no crying. Me cry? Come on. My vision blurred. A warm hand settled atop my head, and suddenly, memories flooded in. That's right. I'm not Daniel. My real name is Samuel. I had a lover, Sebastian. We'd been together for years, until he died in an accident. After that, I became some NPC under the Dark God's control, running missions across every dungeon. Then Sebastian arrived as a player, sent to the Inferno dungeon. That's where I was assigned. In the dungeon, the time flow is slow. Every time Sebastian spends 6 hours to clear it, but in fact, the time he spends inside the dungeon is 6 days. He stayed over 600 days, completed more than 100 runs. His only wish? To bring me back this NPC named Daniel. Many people in this dungeon are players like Sebastian, who still hold on to hope. Others just want their own fix, a greedy itch. Jack's one of them. He's a gambler who came here hoping to win endless money. But greed got him killed, no second chances. I couldn't see anything anymore. Words stuck in my throat. I just clung to the dark god with both hands. The evil god said softly, Daniel, do you want Sebastian to live? I nodded frantically, still clinging to that last sliver of hope. The evil god grunted. Well, then, go back, Daniel. Then I shut my eyes. When I opened them again, I was lying in a familiar hospital bed. Someone cried out in shock. Samuel's awake. The light in the ward was blinding. I could only make out a shadow stepping closer, and then that voice I knew so well said, Daniel, you're back. I grabbed his hand, nodding as hard as I could. Even though I'm out of the dungeon, I still get dragged back by the Dark God to serve as cannon fodder. The Dark God's been grabbing 2 at a time now. I'm stuck in there with Sebastian, playing mini-bosses and sending players scrambling every which way. We ran into Charlotte while we were in the dungeon. Charlotte said, no one truly dies when they enter the instance. As long as you haven't cleared it, you're stuck there, until you survive it for good. I asked Charlotte, you gotta go through 100 runs too? No. Charlotte shook her head. With my abilities, I can't make it through 100 times. I just want to see her one more time. I exchanged a glance with Sebastian, and without a word, we decided to give Charlotte a break. Honestly, we're not official NPCs, we're just temporary workers. The Dark God won't bother us anyway. Might as well return the favor for Charlotte helping Sebastian make it through his 100th run back then. As for whether the evil god will come after me and Sebastian later, that's a problem for later.